With Brooklyn's experiment being an utter failure, what are your thoughts on teams trying to do something like this? And Brooklyn's done it twice with Paul Pierce and KG over 10 years ago. So what are your thoughts on this Brooklyn experiment going haywire?
This kind of comes with the bad side of business. Look, when it comes to assembling super teams, obviously everybody jumps to the hypothetical of, oh, well, they're going to win a championship. And maybe not just one, but multiple championships. And when the Nets combined Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, everybody was using the measuring stick of this team is an NBA Finals contender. This could be a potential NBA champion team that we're talking about here. And now we're in 2023. Kevin Durant's the only one left, and they have zero NBA Finals to show for it. They never even made one as a trio. And to me, this is the story that is kind of getting lost in translation now that Kyrie Irving has been traded to Dallas. Everybody's focused about, how's this going to impact Dallas with Kyrie joining forces with Luka Doncic. And I do think that that's a relevant story to go over. But at the same time, this trio that Brooklyn formed has basically been downgraded to one person in Kevin Durant. And now you have some other players like Ben Simmons, you have Spencer Dinwiddie who's getting a homecoming. Now you insert Dorian Finney-Smith. Just from a pure superstar perspective, this team just doesn't have the stars that it used to. And we're not 100% sure if this is going to translate into more success to even get to a finals. I'm not even talking about the Brooklyn Nets are like on their way to winning the finals this year. Can they even make one? And look, when it comes to Kevin Durant, when he's led a team, and not specifically when he joined forces with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, he hasn't been able to lead his own team that he's really been the captain of to an NBA championship. He led the Thunder alongside Russell Westbrook to the finals back in 2012, but they were going up against a prime LeBron James and just a stacked Heat team. Outside of that, KD doesn't have much to show for as far as him being that primary force to get his team into a position to compete for an NBA Finals championship. And honestly, we'll see what happens with Brooklyn moving forward now that they have, you can maybe make an argument they have a little bit more depth now from this Dallas Mavericks trade that they just finalized this past weekend. But yeah, the initial formation of this trio that they had was an utter failure. James Harden had baggage that he brought from Houston. It always seemed like ego was something of an issue. He didn't really mesh well with both KD and Kyrie. Kyrie's availability was always questioned because there was always some sense of drama surrounding him, whether he was focused on politics, whether he was focused on trying to make some sort of social statement, or, you look even back to this season, just earlier in the year with the supposed anti-Semitic remarks that he made, which wasn't really anti-Semitic. All he did was just post a thing on Twitter about some Black Israelite movie. But it just always seemed like Kyrie was involved in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. And it just leaves Kevin Durant left. And we'll kind of see what happens with Brooklyn moving forward. But Kev, just to kind of round this out, to me, obviously the Kyrie story of him going to Dallas deserves a lot of attention. But people are losing complete sight of what Brooklyn failed with this trio. And to me, unless KD gets traded or he goes to somewhere else, maybe then people will finally catch up to the idea of that experiment finally failing. But I mean, to me, this experiment was already failing when James Harden left, and this just pushed it to a whole new level. And I think, by and large, I think people are missing the mark on that. I think this is a story that is largely being unnoticed as far as I see it.
Truthfully, there's not really much I have to kind of like add on top of that because we talked about this. Ironically, Kyle and I were just looking at some numbers. Coincidentally, we posted a video about the Brooklyn Nets failure this time last year on the 4th of 2022. Dude, it's like history just continues to repeat itself. It's almost like Brooklyn is destined for failure because they continue to make trades like this. They continue to make decisions with the front office. I mean, they've changed leadership a few times in terms of ownership, and they've changed coaching a few times as well. But I mean, when you go and you sign players that have checkered history with off the court problems, head issues in terms of like just not being focused and not putting the team first, this is what you get. There's not much you can really do to definitively counter that point. Kyrie Irving has always had an agenda. Obviously, Kevin Durant wanted to do his own thing after leaving Golden State. James Harden has always wanted to prove to the league, in my opinion, that he's wanted to do something on his own when he decided to. No, he actually didn't decide. He got traded from OKC. But, I mean, ever since that trade, James Harden was always out there to say, I'm going to do it by myself, whether that's with 7 to 12 dribbles or with 50-point games. I really don't know what else to say. But Brooklyn is no stranger to specifically going out here and making risky moves like this. I think this is going to be the final straw. If KD is not moved, once his contract expires, Brooklyn has got to either figure out how to make things homegrown, like with players like Cam Thomas, or they just go out there and they acquire people on shorter term deals, because giving super megastars like this, deals like that, just it ends up becoming, Kevin, what do you want? Kyrie, what do you want? What can we do for you? I believe that the front office was very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? When they're willing to do whatever you want. They were very accommodating. That's the word I'm looking for. And KD and Kyrie completely took advantage of their kindness, and unfortunately, Brooklyn is not reaping any benefits from this, and they're suffering.